Hello, everyone, and this is Maria, and welcome to the third episode of my podcast called The Wisdom, Wine, and Whatever. So, thank you so much for being here. I have the last episode, it was about um, the first lesson, which is celebrating your life while you can. Um, Now, what I'm going to discuss is the second lesson that I would like to share with you, and that is just want to make sure that I get this correctly. So, you are not indispensable. So, what does that mean? Um, there is a when you say indispensable, that you are important or you're essential, you're you're um, of value. Okay, so I don't want you to think that what I'm trying to say is that you're not valuable, or no, that's not what I meant. Um, Definitely you are valuable, definitely you are important, and that you matter. Okay, what I'm trying to say here on this second lesson is that in a job or in a company, especially if you are an employee, if it's not your own company, you are not indispensable. Um, why am I sharing this? I remember I told you the last episode, right, that I lost my dad when he was 59 years old. I think I was about 27 at that time. And of course, my parents have um, shared a lot of lessons, right, along the way. Like they have been telling they have been telling us that they don't have wealth to pass on to us, but the greatest wealth that they are sharing or that imparting to us is the value of education. So that's one thing. But definitely one um, important lesson that my dad has passed on to me is this: you are not indispensable. That you can he has been telling us that you can never be loyal to a company. I'm not saying that when you're working right now that don't be loyal or don't give your best. It's just that even if you're loyal to your employer, that doesn't mean, or it doesn't guarantee that the company will be loyal to you. So when my mom was diagnosed back in the 1990s for kidney failure, she only survived for a year, and then she passed. And at the same year, that was the time when my dad lost his job. And when he lost his job, he's been in that company for a very long time. But that was during the 1990s recession. So, as you know, or as you would expect, that the economy wasn't really good. So, they have to lay off a lot of people. And one of them is my dad. And my dad was like an executive in that company. Imagine that my mom was had to go to dialysis 3 times a week, and my dad didn't have a job, and we didn't have money. I was still 18 that time. My two sisters were still starting with their own careers, so imagine that. It was really one of the, not probably one, but it was the roughest time in our family, not just financially, emotionally, and everything else. Um, and my dad. put a lot of work or effort all his time. He was so loyal because he had a very good job. He was great at it. It was a very good company, and it is something that he really wanted to keep. Like, it's a multinational company. And again, this happened back in the Philippines, okay? So, but still, like what I've said, he cannot control what can happen to him, right? And it turned out, even though he was loyal and he was great at what he was doing, he was still laid off. Then here in Canada, that happened also to me um, um twice. So um when I moved to Canada, I was very fortunate to have worked in the same company that I have worked for in the Philippines, but it's not a transfer. It's not a direct transfer. Like, I have to go through the whole application process. But anyway, it was in the transportation industry, and like, I've told myself that this is where I am going to retire because I love my job. I love the industry that I was in, but I was let go twice in that industry. Um, the same as my dad, I was very great at it. I know. I mean, if I wasn't really great or if I wasn't really a successful employee in that industry, then of course it would be hard for me to find a job, right? But it's not that. It's not because you're not great at it. That's the reason why they're letting you go. I mean, yeah, there are times that they will let you go for non-performance, but in my case, it's not that. Uh, like, two times when that happened to me was they were both companies were um, like had a merger or an acquisition, so they have to let go some people. Um, and I was one of them. So the hard thing there is that you like the first time that I was let go, it was really unexpected, and I wasn't really prepared because I remember how it happened because I was in sales. So by the way, for those of you who don't know, I before I moved to the financial services industry, I was in the corporate selling world in the transportation industry and transportation and logistics. And then what happened was one time my boss called me like out of the blue. Like, I'm in field sales, so I don't see my I did I when you're in field sales, you really don't see your bosses all the time because you don't go to the office. Only if there are meetings or whatnot, right? But and then you don't have to. It's all electronic. You don't have to go there to submit your report and stuff. There's not a lot of paperwork. So you can just scan or whatever. And so it's very, how do you say it, unusual when a boss calls you. So my boss called me and he said one afternoon, and he said, like, I need to meet with you now. Like, that doesn't happen all the time. And it was funny because I was already home. So, okay, like, and he wanted to meet with me in Vancouver because he thought that I was still in the area, but I went home early. So I was in Vancouver. He said, like, can I meet with you like in 30 minutes. I said no, in an hour because still have to travel. But anyway, so he thought that I was in my area, and Vancouver is my territory. And so, in other words, we met. He decided to just meet in one of my territories where my clients are in the parking lot, and he talked to me in the car, and that's where and when he told me the bad news that I have to let you go, blah blah blah. And then at that time, he got my cell phone, my work cell phone, and my work laptop right away because they were scared that you will get their clients, your client list. You cannot copy like work files and stuff. So I was like, and I think I didn't have a cell phone, like a personal phone at that time because like, why do I need a personal cell phone if I could use my work cell phone for personal use also, right? So I was like, okay, I don't have a phone. Like, how will I call anybody? But this was in, when was this? I think this was 2014. So 11 years ago. So, but anyway, yeah. And then I was like, okay, I don't have a job. Like, I got just laid off. So, okay. Like, at that moment, it still didn't sink in right away. Um, but I was like, okay. So, you really don't know, like, what are you gonna, what will you feel? Um, what are you gonna do next? Right? Like, okay, I just went home. And then the next day when I woke up, that really hit me because when I woke up, I didn't know what to do. I like because you already have a routine, right? Like you're gonna wake up and then you know bring my daughter to school and then I will go to work, stuff like that. But that time, like, okay, woke up and then what's next? That was really unexpected the first time. So yeah. Um, but it turned out to be a blessing. But of course, only along the way, right? After a few years, if like right now, if I just look back, um, at that time, I didn't appreciate what happened. I felt like it's a big problem. You can't appreciate what happened at that time. But then, after a few years, like what I've said right now, looking back, I would I would think like now if I'll think about it, it's actually a blessing because I feel that God allowed that to happen because He has a bigger plan for me. He has a bigger purpose. He doesn't want me to be in that industry. Remember, I told you a while ago when I moved to Canada and I got my first job, which is the same company as my last job in the Philippines, and it was still in the transportation industry. When I got that job, I was 2 months old in Canada. I was just telling myself like that I will be retiring in this industry, right? Because I really love that industry. I love the company and stuff, but my plan was to retire in that industry. But like what I've said, God didn't want me to be there. He wanted me to be in another industry. So now, like what I've said looking back, it's really a blessing because I know that if I was in the corporate world, I wouldn't be able to do this. My network, the people that I will be meeting will be limited. Um the people that I will be helping will be limited too. And I knew for a fact that God has a bigger plan. I just didn't know what. Actually, until now, I really don't know exactly. But what I just know is that he just didn't want me to be there to get stuck. Okay. So the second time that I got laid off, that was actually, I would say, like, how do you call that? I, I can't say it's midlife crisis because I was still at 40s at that time, but I felt like it was midlife crisis. Like God is telling me something, and that's the reason why He wanted me to leave that job or leave that industry because he wanted me to be somewhere else. It's hard to explain until you experience it yourself, but it sounds crazy if I tell you that I knew deep in my heart, like there is that voice that's telling me like just just trust me. Like I have a bigger plan. I don't know until now what that is. I just know that he has a plan. I just knew that he didn't want me to be there. Like he wants me to reach out to more people. That's why I'm independent advisor. I independent advisor in the financial services industry, and then I educated myself to be a coach in finances, in life coaching, in business coaching, and in sales because I feel that he wants me to help more people. It's again sounds like an an answer to an interview uh, of a beauty pageant, like for world peace. But it's true. Um, Especially now that we have these different platforms like a podcast, which I have shared before, that the reason why I started my own podcast is to share my story because people have been telling me that I have a story to tell and I have to amplify my voice and that my voice should be heard. But like, okay, how will I do that? Like people were telling me before the podcasts have been popular stuff, were telling me to write a book, but I'm not a writer. Like, okay, how will I do that, right? So, but now because of social media and different platforms are very available to share my story and to amplify my voice. So I think this is what God wanted me to do. I mean, this is one of the things that He wanted me to do. Um, is to reach out to more people because I'm imagining myself like if I am still in that job, um, I wouldn't have time or I wouldn't think of doing a podcast because I will not educate myself on coaching or life coaching, or I would just be like, because my dream before, like when I landed that job, I was like, I'm just gonna retire, take care of my daughter. I mean, live a simple life, that's it. And I feel like what I've said, that's not what God wanted me to do. He doesn't want me to be kept hidden. Um, you know that all of us, each one of us, have different life purposes, right? The life purpose doesn't necessarily mean it's related to your work, to your career or to your business, each one is different. Your life purpose could be just being a good mom or a good dad or a good parent or a good aunt or a good sister or a sibling or a good child or daughter, um, or related to your job or to your uh, mission. Let's say, like you could be a philanthropist and help charitable organizations. That can be your life purpose, right? It's really different. And let's say your life purpose is to be a good parent to your child, then most probably you will not have the 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 urge to share your story. Although there are some parents who are also have podcasts or sharing their stories. Okay, so don't get me wrong about that. What I'm just trying to say is that there are some people probably like me who are called to share my story, amplify my voice, share out loud the message that we want to partake into the world. And I think that's the reason why God has allowed me to experience two layoffs from the jobs that I really love, because that would prevent me from fulfilling my life's purpose. Um, so what I wanted you to think about is, if you are working right now and either your job is your dream job or your job is just a stepping stone to the next j- better job, then just do your best. Okay, so I read that wherever you are in your life, um, always do your best. It doesn't matter if you are in your dream job or not, because doing your best at the present moment will definitely bring you to the next best step. You have to love what you're doing, love your life at the moment, so that you could attract the next big thing. So, love your job, do your best, and because you cannot not be indispensable in a company that you don't own, so don't forget to educate yourself, upgrade your skills, and do your best. And when you do your job or the things that you're doing in your life, don't do it for your employer, don't do it for your boss, do it for yourself. Because again, you will never be indispensable to another person or to another company. So do your best so that if that happens, I mean, that you are laid off, and then you have already all the skills that you need to be for that next big thing. So I just wanted to read this as a closing to share with you. I would like to share the lessons that I have learned Sorry, the things that I have learned from this lesson number two, which is you are not indispensable. So I wrote it down, and I want to make sure that I don't forget it. Okay, so it is a tough pill to swallow, definitely, knowing that you are not indispensable, but make yourself valuable, not because of other people or because of your employer, like what I've said. Make yourself valuable because you are valuable. So here's what I learned. Okay, so jobs replace people all the time. So no matter how good you are, if a company needs to cut cost or restructure, they will. And again, you are not in control, right? You don't own the company, so they're always in control. And like what I've said, I've been there, and I learned that loyalty to a job that won't think twice about replacing you, don't think that they will never replace you, because if that is your mindset, that is a dangerous mindset. Second, your family needs you more than your job. Okay, so work will always be there, but your kids, especially if you're a parent, your parents as well, if you're single, your relationships, they are more important than your job. So don't ever trade the time for your family because of work. Don't ever say that I don't have time for my child because of work. At the end of the day, you will regret that. I assure you. Because time is moving and you don't get it back. And when you look for a job, I would say I was very fortunate on my very first job in Canada that my boss was really a great guy, and we're still in touch right now because his values are exceptional. One of the values that he believes in, and that's the reason why I was attracted to, like, I really wanted to work with him because of his values. And he told me that family comes first because he believes that if you're not happy with your personal life, you will not be successful or effective at your work. Okay? So time is moving, like what I've said, and you don't get that back. Okay, especially nowadays, burnout isn't a badge of honor. So if you're hustling and bustling, and if you are doing more than what you are expected for work, and then suddenly you feel burnout, it's not an award. If you drop everything for your job or other obligations, what happens when you break down? I forgot to share a while ago that this happened to me, burnout. Um, which was very hard. I told you that I have a special child, right? That's her right there, but she was younger in that picture. She's 15 right now, turning 16. So I can't afford to be unhealthy. I can't afford to get sick because if that happens, no one will take care of her. But then one time I was so burned out, I was screaming. I was screaming. And my daughter saw me screaming and crying. But I cannot handle it anymore. She also cried when she saw me crying and screaming about everything, that I had to lock myself in the washroom, and just that's where I have to, like, lock myself up and think about nothing and just breathe and, like, I can't handle or I can't think of anyone right now except myself. So that's what happened to me. After that, I don't know if this was the cause of the burnout, but I think about a month after, I got hospitalized, emergency surgery for appendicitis. So I don't know if that appendicitis was caused by the burnout, but it happened, like, consecutively and with a shorter gap. And that made it worse because I had to go to the hospital. It was just an appendectomy, so supposedly it's just like an overnight or 2 days. But there was also a complication of my appendectomy that I had to stay in the hospital for 9 days. And it was just so bad that I really felt bad because I can't take care of my daughter. And she was kind of traumatized seeing me going bringing myself to the hospital, seeing me, that, like, she brought me to the hospital, and I think she was traumatized because I had to stay there and she went home without me. So, and my daughter has a very good memory. She remembers everything, bad and good. So that time, probably she just can't say it because she's nonverbal, but she can't just say or ask, like, okay, I brought mommy to the hospital. Why isn't she coming home with me right now? And how will you explain that to a child, right? So, yeah, that happened. So, I'm telling you, burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's not worth it. So, if your job is causing you to experience burnout, or even before the burnout, always schedule a time for yourself, time to rest. Make sure, I know life is hard right now, but you need rest. You cannot be effective in what you're doing if you don't rest. We have to rest because is resetting. Rest is reset. When you rest, you recuperate, you're back mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like everything is being reset and you have more energy, and that's what matters. And then you can go back to what you're doing, to your job, more energetic, more better, like better than what how you were. So please, please, please make sure that you don't reach the burnout stage. If your body will tell you, right? If you're experiencing any symptoms already, don't ignore them because that's what you should be looking out for. Those are signals of your body, like, hey, it's time to rest. So, yeah. And because, like what I've said, what happens when you break down? Who is going to take care of you? That was that's what happened to me, right? And plus, who's going to take care of my daughter? I used to think that my dedication would protect me, but when I got laid off, I realized, I was just another name on the spreadsheet. And I knew that was the moment I knew that I had to stop making work the center of my life. If I am not indispensable um, in my job or in this world, in God's eyes, I am always valuable. And we are always valuable in God's eyes. So don't ever forget that. And I forget that most of the time, especially when something bad happens, or I feel like I'm not still like, Lord, I am doing everything, but I'm still not getting the results. I always forget that I am valuable, uh, that that everything is worth it. Because I feel like if my dreams are not, or if I'm not seeing the results, I feel like I'm being neglected, and that's very dangerous. And the funny thing is that my daughter learns by routine, by copying. Actually, not just my daughter. Most children, they learn from what they see from their parents, right? And I was just thinking, like, I have to really, really be good at loving myself and knowing that I am valuable. Because how can I teach her if that she is valuable, especially she has special needs, right? So she may be different, but she is valuable. She's just different, and we are all different. And I'm thinking, like, you know, if I don't feel that I'm valuable, how could I teach her that? Sorry, we're going in circles, but because this lesson has a lot of implications or impact. It's not just at work, right? Um, I One of my best friends just got laid off, and then it was the first time that she got laid off. Okay, but I think she got laid off January, but she's still working with that company until August. So she still has money, right? And she had time to, you know, prepare for the next job and stuff. And I was telling her, like, hey, that's a blessing, because when I got laid off, I was laid off on the exact day when it was announced to me. And I wasn't able to prepare anything, right? So like when I got laid off, I wasn't financially prepared. So make sure that you have emergency funds. Or good thing here in Canada, we have employment insurance that you could avail, but it's not enough too, right? So make sure that you have emergency funds to pay for the bills, or to replace your income, if it takes time to find the job, but your bills continue, right? So but anyway, I was telling my best friend, like, you're still lucky that you're that you had time to prepare for that the next big thing. Not everyone who got laid off has that time, and you're paid, right? You're still paid. So but yeah, when because she was telling me that she feels that she's not valued, or her self-esteem was kind of shaken after the layoff, and it was her first time, right? Like she felt she was like she's nothing. Like sh- she just felt that, okay, like, what did I do wrong or something? And then I told her, it's not you, it's them, right? The company just cutting costs, or for whatever reason. So it's not you. When you get laid off, it's not you. And it's normal to feel that you're not valuable, but trust me when I say it's not you, it's them. It's kind of like in a relationship, right? Like most men would tell you, it's not you, it's me. Sorry, that's a different story. But yeah, uh, the good thing about podcast is that I am able to share my thoughts, right? And if I have no one to talk to, this is a good place that I could, you know, share my thoughts. But the good thing also about podcasts is that you can just be yourself and share what you think. And like now for this lesson, because I'm telling you this right now, I am actually being reminded. You know what I'm saying? That while I'm recording this and sharing you my thoughts about being indispensable and valuing yourself, it reminded me again, and now it's helping my self-esteem that hey, you're valuable. Don't forget that. I'm telling you that, but I'm actually telling myself also. Okay, so this is a bit long than I expected, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learned something from today's lesson. You were not indispensable. And if you resonate with this, or if you like what I'm saying, or if you like anything about this podcast, please, this would help me subscribe, like, and share. And you can also comment down below if you would like to know more about me, about what I think, about what I do, or if you have some suggestions on what to talk about, feel free to comment down below. So, thank you again. My name is Maria. Others call me Cell. I'm a financial and life coach based in Canada, and I'm also the host of this podcast, Wisdom, Wine, and Whatever. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.